Well, we are slowly learning more about the agreement the Trump administration made with Iran. It'll extend the ceasefire, reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and set the stage for further talks to permanently end the war. But questions remain this morning surrounding Iran's nuclear program and closer to home what this means for Oklahomans. This morning, a check-in with U.S. Senator Alan Armstrong. Let's welcome him in now from Washington, D.C. Senator, thanks for being with us here this morning.
Well, good morning. Glad to be here.
All right. Well, let's start here. Senate Republicans and Democrats are signaling some skepticism around this deal. Where do you stand?
Well, I think, like a lot of things in Washington, there's a lot of speculation going on right now. And I think, very few have actually seen the details. But I do think that the administration's been pretty clear that it's a framework. It's not a detailed agreement, but a framework that allows for negotiations to continue, particularly on the nuclear item. And so I think, the good news is it looks like there's a 60-day ceasefire associated with it and a reopening of the strait. And I think obviously that's positive. But I think the details are to be worked out as it relates to the nuclear side of the agreement, which is obviously the critical part.
And Senator, you said not a lot of details are out there publicly. The president has said that the deal could likely be made public after it's formally signed on Friday. But how important is it to get this out to people so they can read it for themselves?
Well, I think they've been fairly clear from my perspective that there's still a lot of the critical details to be worked out. And I think what they have is a framework that will allow for negotiations to presume while the rest of the world's economy is not held hostage by that. So anyway, I think, we're going to need to be patient and let that be worked out. It'd be nice. I know we'd all love to have that, but I think getting to the right agreement and is a lot more important for us than to have our curiosity satisfied.
There are a lot of questions remaining about the deal surrounding Iran's nuclear program. Senator, Vice President J.D. Vance says that the deal, it helps prevent some nuclear weapons and limits support for terrorist groups. Does this deal, though, go far enough to keep Iran from developing that nuclear weapon, do you think?
Yeah, again, I think that they're in the process of ironing that out, and I think it's really early to call whether that's ultimately going to be successful or not.
Let's talk now about the impact at home, because we have been reporting on higher gas prices as a result of this war. You have an energy background, Senator. So what could opening the Strait of Hormuz mean for Oklahomans?
Yeah, obviously, we've seen gasoline prices continue to come down. In fact, I think this morning or yesterday, the national average was at 406. And I'll just remind people that is 20% below more than 20% where prices were this time in June of 22 during the Biden administration. And so I think sometimes we kind of lose track of that. But prices have continued to drift down pretty hard here in the first couple of weeks of June. So I do think that, that's going to start showing up more and more at the pump. But I'd like to, point out that places where prices are really high here in the U.S., places like California and in the Northeast, even here in Washington, D.C., a lot of that is because we as the American public have continue to elect people that have allowed for some of the blue states to continue to restrict infrastructure from getting built. And that is, so we really want to put a lot of attention on the Strait of Hormuz, but right here in our own country, we are blocking that critical infrastructure that stands between us as consumers and lower prices. And that's what I'm really focused on, is things that we practically can control here in Congress, and really getting ourselves as a country back to building critical infrastructure without it taking 10 years to go through a permitting process.
Well, senators returned to D.C. this week, Senator, as the news of this deal was announced, talking about Congress now. What role should Congress play in reviewing or overseeing this agreement moving forward?
Yeah, again, I think, they've been pretty clear that that this is the framework for an agreement and not an actual agreement that has been signed yet. So I think, I would tell you, I think trying to do that by committee or by Congress would be absolutely impossible when we can't even get to getting our own permitting processes here in the U.S. straightened out. So I think we should really focus on what we can control here in Congress and be very pragmatic and practical about getting that done. And so, said another way, we have a lot to contribute here from Congress, just getting our own permitting processes straightened out to be able to utilize the great resources that we have here at home so that we're not so taken by issues in the Middle East. I really have doubts about our ability to be able to control the conflicts around the world versus our ability to control things here at home. And from my perspective, we ought to be very pragmatic and stay focused on that.
Again, the deal is set to be signed Friday, but what is something that you will be watching closely here?
Yeah, I think, everybody's very interested in making sure that the nuclear proliferation that we've, had to witness over and over is done in a way that we can actually verify and see that. So I think that's the most important thing for us, that everybody's going to want to really make sure that that's done. I don't think, to be clear, I don't think we're going to see that day one in terms of what's agreed to right now. I think that's going to be a process of getting through the details on that. I think that the administration's been pretty clear that all they have right now is a framework.
All right. Well, U.S. Senator Alan Armstrong, thank you so much for your time this morning from Washington, D.C., and thank you for the check-in, the update that you can give to our viewers.